What's up, people? Welcome to my show where I bring in different people from different backgrounds to showcase their talents and specialties to the world. Today I have with me an amazing guy who I've just met for the first time. I can't wait to learn a lot of exciting things about him and all his accomplishments. So let's give it up for Preston Pollard.
What's happening? What's happening?
I'm good. How you doing, sir?
Amado, this is great. I'm excited to be here. I'm thrilled. And before we start, I have to say congratulations.
Thank
because
you.
we were outside and you had so many awards and so many things that you're doing. So I just want to let you know that you have there's amazing, great things ahead of you.
Thank you. I appreciate it
For
very
sure.
much. And I always like to hear about where people started from in the beginning, because the beginning is the most important place where we've all been.
Definitely.
So where are you from? What was your childhood like? Describe your upbringing.
Definitely. Well, you're exactly right. We all have a beginning. We all have a start. I'm actually from Alaska. And
Wow.
I know people are watching right now, but like, there's black people in Alaska? I didn't know that. Yes, yes. We have a lot of different nationalities in Alaska. And my grandfather, he's actually from Georgia. My mom's from Guatemala. But through the military, they ended up, my grandfather ended up moving to Alaska. And then I was born in Alaska, interesting enough. But the neat thing about Alaska is it's like majestic, big mountains. And so for me as a young kid, I was just super, super hyper. I mean, I'm talking about ADHD, couldn't sit still. Parents didn't know what to do with me. Teachers didn't know what to do with me. And I was actually placed in special ed classes. And it was tough, man. It was like, you feeling kind of like othered, or you feel like a misfit. But it was a beautiful moment as well, because I realized that I got to learn incredible skills of empathy and being able to connect with people who didn't look like me. And so from there I started to get into different things where I was like volunteering for like Special Olympics and all these different service projects. But most importantly, what really transformed my life was skateboarding, believe it or not. And I remember I was in school and I opened up this magazine and I saw a picture of Tony Hawk, and that kind of something there it struck me. And then I ended up begging my father, my dad, my mom for a skateboard, and they ended up buying me one. It was the cheapest skateboard you could possibly buy. It was horrible. It was a plastic skateboard, but that was something that I began to just use and practice, and it really changed my life. But it was tough as well, because there was a lot of people that were judging me by that, saying, hey, you being a skateboarder, you should be, maybe you need to be like a white person, but black people, they don't do that. So there was a lot of judgment. There was a lot of peer pressure. There was a lot of, and I could have conformed, but at that moment, I chose to hold on to something that I loved. And I believe it's so important that when young people, old people, when you have a dream, when you have something deep inside of you that you love, that you hold on to that dream and you cultivate that dream, because there's going to be people out there that might not understand what you have, and they want to tell you what you should do. And so anytime I'm speaking, I always say, you have to tell them, I don't care what they say. You have to have that mentality, that you have to always know that you are here for a reason, that you belong, that you have gifts, you have natural capabilities and abilities. And I was very fortunate enough to have an amazing family who they believed in me and they cultivated my gifts. So I'm gonna let you go. I know it's not gonna lie.
No, you were good. You had a lot of great stuff to say, and that's one thing I've learned is to ignore the haters. You're gonna have people who are by your side, like your amazing family, who support you.
Yeah.
And then you're also gonna have people who are like, don't do this, you're never gonna do well in this. But I learned that the reason that they say that is because, first of all, they don't believe in themselves, and second of all, they're too jealous and insecure within themselves that they don't want to see you succeed.
Right.
Them picking on you, them being a bully, it gives them the power that they can't get anywhere else, especially those kids who don't have people, who don't have a role model like you did to help support them. So I've just learned to have empathy for those people and to still show some kindness. Like it kind of reminds me of the story that my mom told me about how she would go to this bank and there was this woman, I guess, that had a husband that passed away, and ever since that passing, she just became this mean person. And then these two women would be mean to her just because she was mean, but my mom just always treated her with kindness because that woman was never mean to my mom. Mm-hmm. And then that woman came back to my mom one day later, or they met somewhere or something like that, and that woman said, you know, I dealt with this passing, and because of that, I became this mean person, and everyone would be mean to me, but you were the only person who was kind to me. So it's a balance of both.
Yeah, definitely, and I love that, because kindness is a key, and I learned some of those principles from my family, just how they would treat people and how they would use, like my aunt. I mean, she had, you know, she would always serve and help others, and I realized, just like in life, you know, you could have all the money in the world, but if you don't have kindness, what do you really got? You can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have the ability to serve others and to love others, then what do you really have? And so I remember my dad telling me this. He said, you know, imagine if you woke up one morning and you were the only person alive, but all the stores were open. Rodeo Drive was open, all the banks were open, all the fancy cars, Lamborghinis, everything was available, but the only thing was there was no people to enjoy it with. Would you want to live like that? And majority of people wouldn't want to live like that, because the house can't hug you, the cars can't hug you, but you need people. And I really believe that. So I really believe that life is about service. It's about purpose. It's about having a meaningful life. I've recently read this study from Harvard, and they were talking about 3 out of 5 young people feel like they don't know their purpose. They don't know why they're here. They haven't figured out their passions, things that they love. And of course, that leads to depression and anxiety and all these different things. But they realize that the antidote to that is figuring out a way that you can serve others. Like, what are the things that you have that you could actually go out and do something to help people? So that's something that's helped me in my life, just to do my best to be grateful for the small things. My quote, "My breath is my miracle," that just helps me to become present and to be grateful for the small things every moment. Just like
Mr. Carey.
Yeah, Mr. Carey said, Romero. Look at the last name. Romero's that's the last name?
Romeo is the first name.
Okay, Romeo's first name. Okay.
The last name.
Yeah, just like he said, you know, just realizing that every breath, we have to be present, we have to be here now.
Yeah.
And so those are the things I've been learning. But of course, you have to go through challenges, you have to go through pressure, because that builds resilience. And so through the things that I've been through pain that I've been through, I've just learned that it's all for a purpose, and it's all to build character, and it's all to build strength. And I was also reading that even trees need resistance to grow.
Yeah.
Isn't that something? They need wind. They need their roots get stronger. So it's just like, you know, anything that I go through or you go through, yes, we have to acknowledge the pain. Maybe we have to talk to a therapist. Maybe we have to connect with somebody who we trust. I like to spend time in nature. Yeah. But most importantly, that's making us stronger. So, but again, kindness is key. So,
yeah, those are the two most important things. I put kindness as number 1.
Yeah.
And number 2, I put be yourself.
Yeah.
Be yourself no matter what people say. Don't be who you are, or like don't pretend to be someone that you're not just to fit in, because you're gonna feel miserable at the end. It may not be like that the first year, for example, but then as time goes on,
for sure,
you keep feeling miserable, and it's just not going to lead to your purpose, because it's not going to lead to happiness. Mm-hmm. I've noticed that your happiness comes within yourself, first of all, and second of all, comes from you being truly who you are.
Right.
You doing what it is you want to do. Now, even with that, you deal with challenges, like we talked about.
Yeah.
We all deal with challenges. Being human is a challenging experience. But you also want to look at the end result while still being in the present moment.
Yeah.
In the end, do you want to feel happy with what you've accomplished by being you, despite all the challenges, or do you want to feel miserable because you just went along doing what other people told you to do just to fit in?
For sure.
You got to look at the end result. You got to you got to think before you do.
For sure. And I have a quote. I say, don't think short term, think long term. You know, my parents taught me that. I think that's a valuable key. I just think that in society, we want to conform. And it's so easy to conform through social media, being on our phones all the time, wanting what people have. So it does take an individual to be at peace with who they are.
Yeah.
And realizing that I don't care if they don't like me, I love what I do, and just having, you know, that confidence within self.
Yeah.
I really do. That's just, like I said, that's what changed my life, is just being myself. You know, ever since I was 18, I wanted to work with youth and speak and travel and interview. I've interviewed some of the biggest stars, from the Avengers to all sorts of different people, billionaires to but the interviews didn't start from production. They just started from me being curious. So that was a gift that I had, just curiosity. Always wanted to know about people. Where did you start? How did you get there? What is your philosophies of life? And eventually things kind of unraveled and doors opened up, huge doors, amazing doors. So that's a big thing, is knowing who you are, knowing that you have a purpose, and everything starts in your mind.
Yeah.
Everything starts in your mind first. So, you know, I always tell people you have to see it, you have to speak it,
and you have to believe it.
And believe. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Exactly. So I try to have these little rhymes that I can remember, and that's something that helped me a lot. And it takes time to cultivate that, because as in life, you know, I believe we also carry vibrations, and whether we're meditating or what we're saying out of our mouths, it all adds up. And also, what is the story we're telling ourselves? You know, when I was in special ed classes at first, for years I felt I was dumb. I felt I wasn't smart. I was telling myself this story over and over, and it was almost like I was going in like a depression tornado, until I learned to ask empowering questions of like what's trying to emerge, and things like using empowering words and helped me. But then I also had to rewrite the story to say I am special, as you know, as a person I am. And anybody who's watching right now, you're special as well. You have a purpose. And so I just think for people that might be feeling a certain way, I think we have to ask ourselves, what story are we telling ourselves? Are we speaking positive, or are we speaking negative? And if we are speaking negative about ourselves, how can you rewrite that story? And maybe that story is today. You can sit down, put out a piece of paper, and maybe you're telling yourself, I'm not good enough. Maybe you need to start telling yourself, I am good enough. And so I think that's been beneficial for me, is rewriting that story, speaking positive over my life, encouraging others, serving others, and it's been beautiful. It's been beautiful.
And I agree with you too. I feel like we all have a gift, and everyone is special, even those who have really messed up. It's like convicts in prison, juveniles in like those detention centers. They get sent to that center very young. I forget the exact words, excuse me, but we all have gifts, and it's never too late to change and to do better. And I feel like it's those convicts or those people who were in gang members, the ones who recognize the mistakes, no matter how old they are, they can be an inspiration and an advocate for the youth and for the people that are about to fall into the same traps that they are. So it's just, life is interesting in that kind of way.
Yeah, it's, you know, life is our greatest teacher. And you know, for sure, gang members, but to be honest, you could have zillions of dollars and you don't have peace. There's a hole missing. Some people could be on drugs and all these different, because there's something missing. And I think, you know, life is so simple, where the most beautiful things in life are like free, in a sense. Like you go outside, it's like, this is pretty nice if you're conscious of it. You know, you're looking at different insects, you're like, wow, if you really pay attention to it, it's like, it's pretty amazing. So I just think it's consciousness. It's like, where's our consciousness at? How are we thinking? what choices are you making, you know, every single day, because your choices dictate your future.
Yeah.
I mean, what friends are you hanging out? My favorite quote is, "Show me your friends, I'll show you your future." So it's all about the mind. It's all about your purpose. It's all about discovering that, and moving with action and moving with purpose. Because a lot of times I've met so many people, and they have so many gifts, but they're afraid. They're afraid to. Maybe it's public speaking. They're afraid to move.
Yeah.
And when you get to a place like that, it's not good, because you could spend your whole life, maybe you get to your 50 years old, and then you're not happy. And then you start blaming, and then you start complaining, and then you start living stuck. You start living in the energy of everything is the same. So it's so important that we have to remember that we're limitless, we're fearless, and everything is, I believe, even if it's hard, it's working out for our good.
Yeah, and what are the challenges that you experienced within your youth, especially when it came time for high school?
Man,
I know you talked about special ed being one of them, but what other challenges?
Yeah, so special ed was a big thing. You know, I wouldn't say ADHD, because now I'm using my hyper skills in a different way, which is great.
Yeah.
Obviously, peer pressure, that's a big thing. When you have, you know, your friends telling you, or not even telling you, they're just doing things. You might want to do what they're doing because it's cool. So I fell into that. What else a challenge? Those was pretty much, you know, the biggest challenges. But once I thought to myself, and I had good people around me, that's when my life started to change. You know, so I just, you know, I had to reconnect with myself. I had to, you know, a lot of prayer to help through those situations.
Yeah.
And I just, you know, tell people all the time, you know, when you're going through situations like that, you know, hopefully you have good people to connect with. Hopefully if you have family, prayer, because life can get really, you know, tough, you know.
Yeah.
And I look back on my life and I'm like, man, I'm thankful I had family, but some people don't even have that. You just going through stuff, taking drugs because you don't know what to do. But I really believe that we were created to be resilient. You know, when you think about when you were, well, probably can't remember when you were a baby, but as we were babies, we learned how to walk, right? But before that, we fell a lot, and it's like that was like we got up, fell, got up, and I think as we get older, I think we start to be afraid of failure, but failure is not really. Failure is really only failure if you just absolutely stop, you know, as a give up completely. But I look at failure differently. I look at failure as a way to see what you can learn, right? So it's fail forward. So if you make a mistake, that's okay, because now you're going to be able to say, okay, I can learn this and this and this and this about the situation.
Yeah.
Just like, I believe it was Einstein or somebody with the light bulb, you know, and there were so many failures that he made, but instead of him giving up, he was like, I learned every way not to do so I can learn what to do. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How cool that is?
Yeah.
So it's just how we look at life. You know, we're gonna have rejections. We're going to go through things. But I always say rejection is just redirection. You're always gonna get rerouted, just like the GPS. You just gotta stay with it. You gotta stay committed. You gotta stay faithful. You gotta just have that hunger and always believe. The hardest thing I went through for me is you have to get to the point where you believe more than your parents, more than anybody. You have to believe deep down that you're not crazy. You got this gift, but you're not crazy, you know? And it will come to pass, but you have to bet on yourself. I got that from Anthony Russo. He's the director from Avengers.
Oh, okay.
I interviewed him, and he said, you have to bet on yourself. That means that maybe you have to save up a little bit of money to start, you know, to start a film, but you always have to bet on yourself. Before I was interviewing celebrities, I had to, you know, before I got that opportunity, because a lot of these networks, they weren't accepting my, you know, my offer and different things that I didn't get those jobs from that. So I decided to buy my own camera equipment.
Yeah.
I decided I'm gonna talk to, and then I first interviewed Boo Boo Stewart from Twilight. And then it's just slowly but surely I started to interview different individuals in the entertainment business. So if you want it, you gotta go get it.
Yeah.
But you always say, don't wait, create. What are you waiting for? Go out, create. We all have no more excuses. We all have a phone. We all have, the creativity is right there.
Yeah.
We just have to
believe in yourself.
Exactly.
And everything that you said, it reminds me of this quote from Rocky Balboa Part 6. It was this advice that he was giving his son in the movie, saying that the world isn't all sunshine and rainbows. It is a very mean and nasty place and will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it.
Mm-hmm.
You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward, how much you can take and keep moving forward. Because that's how winning's done.
Man, that I felt that, because last year I went through something and it was like I got hit. It was like not physical, but it was like what I went through. But it's amazing how your pain, the pain that we go through, is so important. For instance, when I went through my situation, I had a time to reflect and sit with myself, and this word came to me. My breath is my miracle. And not only did this word come to me, but now one of my skateboards is featured in a museum in Alaska with this quote on it. And so from my pain, now it's able to empower and inspire people in Alaska in a museum. So the pain that we go through is actually for a reason. Think of all the people that you admire, you look up to. You don't admire them because they have a perfect life, a straight life, everything's perfect. Nah, they all have a story of the pain they went through, the breakups they went through, all of that stuff that they went through, but they pushed forward. They were like, I have to be resilient. I have to get up. And sometimes you want to just, curl up in your room and eat Rice Krispie treats. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to get up. And some days that's good, but not every day. You got to get to the point where you go, all right, I got to get back up.
Yeah.
And you gotta work that thing. You gotta work out. You gotta read books. I love How to Win Friends and Influence People. I got so many different books that I absolutely love. But you gotta read things that encourage you. Always sit with yourself. If you're even on social media for a long time, are you looking at something and it's causing you depression, or what are you listening to, watching? So just be mindful of what you're entertaining, because how does that? Well, there's a quote that is like, I'm not remembering right now, but it's like something of, it's like who you are is what you think, or so. It's a quote like that.
Yeah.
And it is so powerful that you be mindful of everything you're taking in over and over again, because eventually you do start to believe that or think that. And so you have to, I had to be careful. I mean, for the past, there's a couple of things that really helped me in the last 2 years. Number one, I just really stopped watching a lot of TV, right?
Yeah.
Number two, I started to get up like 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning. And I started to make habits where I would just make my bed every morning, just make my bed. And that should be normal, but I wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
But I just started to do little habits. And what I realized is that when I woke up and set my day, and I, did my affirmations in the morning, I did my visualization, and it was peace and quiet. I had my thinking. It was like I got out of the matrix. And so I want to tell anybody that's watching, if you feel like you're stuck in the matrix, then maybe you have to get up a little earlier. Maybe you have to start priming your day, having an affirmation for your morning. It could be anything. It could be just something positive, like today's going to be a great day, or, all my needs are met, or just I lack nothing. I'm limitless. I'm abundant. But you have to start controlling as much as your day as possible, or the world will control it for you. So that's just some things that have helped me, and it's been an amazing year. This has been one of my best years yet. So we have to go through challenges. We have to learn how to embrace them. Mark Ruffalo, I interviewed him too, and he has an amazing quote, and he said, "Make fear your friend." And we do. We have to make everything that we fear our friend, and realizing that it's for our good. So,
And skateboarding, so you talked a little bit about that, how you started when you were young. So with that dream that you had, how did you keep it going? How did you progress with it through high school and after high school?
Yeah, great question. So at 14, ended up getting sponsored, and that was amazing. And so from there, I was skateboarding a lot, but there was a lot of peer pressure, and just getting in trouble here and there, being just a normal teen. But through that time of those incidents, I remember talking to my aunt, and she said, you really got to get your life together, because I wasn't going down the right path. And so listening to her advice, I decided to start volunteering. And I volunteered at her school, and it was amazing just to be able to connect with, they were like my age, so it was weird that I was kind of like speaking to them and we're at the same age, but it was weird. But I was like, I just started off, and then eventually I was like, I love this. But the skateboarding component, I got in magazines, I was touring, I toured around. I was featured on a Jones soda bottle. I was on a billboard in Times Square, New York. There was a lot of very, I would say, miracles that took place.
You were blessed.
Very blessed, still blessed. And we all blessed, right?
Yeah, we are.
Exactly. And from there, skateboarding opened up doors to even become a skate coach to celebrity kids, big celebrity families. And so I did that for a number of years. I was working in Compton. I did that for a number of years. My story is wild. It's been a journey, but it's been so beautiful to have the people that I've gotten to meet, the places that I've gotten to see. But I just realized that the big purpose behind it is service. That's what has been opening the doors. I wasn't going after these people or situations for fame. It was, how could I add value to you? How could I serve? And that's always been my number one focus when I'm, whatever it is, how can I serve? How can, I just think that's the best way to go about it, instead of using people, but figuring out what value can you bring to the table.
And the incidents that you dealt with, did any of it have to do with, you talked about peer pressure. Did you deal with any bullying at all in school? Not
like crazy bullying, but not like too wild. It was different back then, but it wasn't too crazy. It was just like, they would like, I guess it could be a small form of bullying, like you shouldn't, they're laughing at me, but I'm different. And I say that, like, when you don't believe in me, like I'm hustling more.
Yeah.
When you are thinking that I can't do something, I'm on fire more.
Oh yeah.
That's just my personality. So it really kind of motivated me. And those same people that were laughing, like 3 years later, they were asking for my autograph. You see? So that's just part of it. If everybody's clapping you and cheering you on all the time, you might want to hustle even harder, because when you start succeeding, you're going to have, succeeding or not, but you're going to have people that are not going to get your vision. And I'm from Alaska. They didn't see that vision for me, but I saw the vision, right?
Yeah.
You have to see the vision in your mind. You have to picture it. You have to see it so clear, as already finished, as already done, as already complete. Everything has to be in the present moment, right?
Yeah.
Everything has to be now. And that's what my aunt taught me. These are all strategies that my aunt taught me at a young age. And they've worked. They have worked. And so I know it to be true. And I just try to live my life in that way, even behind closed doors, live my life in a good way, not like you this way in front of people, and then behind the camera you acting crazy. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it can be difficult because it depends on what career you're in. If it's like in front of people all the time, then you have to, maybe if you can't go everywhere like you used to go to. Just different things start to change a little bit.
Yeah.
But man, for the most part, man, it's been a miracle. My only dream was really to be skateboarding in magazines, and I've been able to do some really, really cool things. Right now I'm working on a documentary.
Wow.
And it's, small story short, it's in a small village in Alaska, about 700 people. Small community.
So right where you came from, that's amazing.
Yeah, but get this. In 2015, there was a story that came out of these young people that were these Yupik natives in Alaska that were skateboarders. They got this skate park. It was so fascinating, and they were skateboarding with like no shoes on, and I was like, that's interesting. Let me try to reach out to them. It took me a long time to reach out to them, get a hold of them, but eventually I did. And I remember calling into the city and talking to their city manager, but to find out they were lacking skateboards, their language has been dying, and their youth center burned down. I was like, what? I was like kind of devastated, like, because in 2015 it was like booming, it was like amazing. So I thought to myself, what can I do? And as I thought that thought, everything started to come into motion. I went to this event, and I ended up meeting a guy that works for HUD, the housing authority. And I told him what was happening, and he said, I want to help you. And believe it or not, I was just in that village called Queefluck 3 months ago. We ended up, man, it was incredible. We flew in on this tiny airplane of like three-seater airplane. The pilot was like 20 years old. I was terrified. Wow. We land, we get there, and they treated us with nothing but love. We ate so many different foods with them just to connect with their culture. And the most amazing part was I remember we were going into one of their homes, and we were eating, and she was like, they had the seal and all these, it was amazing. It was really cool. But there was a glow about her. She was so happy. Now, they didn't have the Lamborghinis outside and all the Range Rovers and all this stuff, but she was so happy. So I asked her, I was like, where does your happiness come from? And she looks at me with a smile of a smirk, and she says, this community, the way we share, the way we give. She says, the American way is I, but she says here, we are about we together. And I really was touched by that. So I think that is such a form of happiness when we can get out of ourselves, when we can get out of just I, and we can start thinking of we. If we can start to unite, I think it would be a beautiful world, man. So not only that, so yes, we're, the documentaries, so that's just a small piece of the iceberg. So basically the documentary is where we're helping them renovate their youth center. So it's to cultivate their language, and it's beautiful, it's touching, and I just encourage anybody who is watching to step outside of your comfort zone, meet somebody that you don't know, and use your gifts to serve. We all, America is like a team. Yeah. Everybody has different teams, and I understand, but I think there's something about love that we should all be able to agree on. Yeah. There's something about breath, we can all agree on, and service and purpose, and so some of the small things I mentioned. And I think, man, that's kind of what I'm learning is we're not always going to agree on every little thing, but there's some things we should be able to agree on, and that's for like this culture, just helping them with the youth center. I mean, it's so simple. Like they deserve to cultivate their culture. We all have beautiful cultures. Every culture is rich and beautiful and fascinating, and it's so important that they get this youth center. So I'm truly excited, blessed to be a part of it. And as I was on the phone with the guy from HUD, he's like, what you're doing now, Preston? And I said, what are you doing? He's like, you're doing, he said, public policy. I said, what's public policy?
Yeah.
Because, the language and I had to do a lot of, research. It was just so funny. But it like I said, it all came from just a heart for people. Yeah. And I think that's just something that my family helped me cultivate. And it's been a beautiful, beautiful journey, man.
And as we speak, I feel like I'm connecting with you because I did the same thing this year. I got out of my comfort zone, and first period adaptive PE, that's what the class is called. It's this class of kids who are disabled, whether it's physically or, I don't like to say disabled mentally, but they just think differently than people like me and you. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't make us better than them. Doesn't mean that they're stupid. doesn't mean that they shouldn't they shouldn't be helped. So it was because I met these two teachers, I was holding the door for them, I was being nice, and then they were being nice. They were like, you should volunteer for this class. You'd be a great fit. So I talked to the head of that department. She liked me, and I was like, I'll do it. And I was a little reluctant at first because I was thinking this is something new, never done this before, but I'll give it a try because you always want to say yes and try new stuff. And it turned out to be the best thing because all the teacher aides now like me, all the students like me. I've developed a really good relationship with everyone, even the coach. And today was my last day with them. And the coach was like, you know, it'd be nice if you could stop by again next year, even though you won't be in the class, because everyone would be happy to see you. And that just came from me doing a service and being kind.
Wow, and I love that. And I'm gonna ask you a question.
All right.
What did that feel like, just being of service? What was that feeling like when you started and when you finished, and what do you feel like you took from that? I'm just curious.
What I felt like I took from that was, I felt really happy within myself, but I know that I made a difference in people's lives as well. And that really means the most to me, 100%. Because as kids, we get rewarded for doing the stuff that we're supposed to do. But when you become adults, you don't get rewarded for doing the stuff you're supposed to do. But I don't see it as a reward, as like about me getting a reward. I see it as me being who I am just because it feels good. And it feels good to help other people.
For sure.
And I wasn't given like a physical reward, but you know what? It's okay because I don't need that.
Exactly. No, that's good. I love that. No, I mean, that's the key. I think that's the key to life. It was free for you to just be kind and open up a door. It was free for you to have kindness. It's so simple.
Yeah.
But somehow we make it complicated.
Yeah.
And it's not that complicated. It's just figuring out whatever you can do to serve. And I really want that to be my legacy of, you know, I did get to meet Rosa Parks. I don't know if you've heard of her, but
Whoa.
Okay. So but yeah, I met my mom. She came to Alaska back in the day. It was like in the 90s or something. It was, yeah, so I was like 7 and 8 years old, and remember meeting her. That was amazing. And then I got to meet. I can't remember. There was another guy that served with Martin Luther King. I just met him. His first name is Andrew. I can't remember his last name. But he worked. But anyway, what I'm saying is, I got to meet incredible people that were, you know, people of service, and I've always admired their lives, because I always think about, you know, when we're long and gone, nobody really gonna care how much money you had. Nobody's gonna really care all the stuff you had, but they're gonna want to know, how did you use those things, or use your gifts to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, the imprint that I would hope to leave, you know, behind. And I think you're doing it now, because you're what, 17? How old are you?
I'm 18 now.
18 now, and you found one of the keys. And so I just encourage you, man, just to keep wherever you're going to go big, have your own show, all these amazing things.
Yeah.
Just keep that in the forefront, you know, always figuring out a way that you can continue to use your gifts, man, to serve. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
And I just want to share with the audience the story that I shared. I hope that everyone watching can take the opportunity to do this as well. It's going to feel hard. You may feel reluctant, but I'm telling you, long term, if you think long term, you'll feel so good in the end. And even if you messed up in the past, it doesn't matter what happened in the past. Even if someone brings it up, you just ignore them, because what happens is now, the present, and your breath, and the fact that you're able to breathe.
Yeah.
And now is the time to make a difference, because it's never too late.
Right. So true. It's exactly what he said. It's never too late. You are here for a reason. I believe that there's great things in store for you. So take some time today. Maybe you sit with yourself. Maybe you breathe in 4 seconds, you know, hold 4 seconds, breathe out 4 seconds. Maybe you need to go for a walk. Maybe you need to
Listen to music.
Yeah, listen to music, do a sport, talk to somebody, but start somewhere.
Yeah.
And journal. Make sure you journal out your thoughts. That's something that helps too.
Yeah. And after high school, so you started, based on what I understood, you started with the public speaking, like being an advocate
Volunteer.
for the youth.
Yeah.
So what did you do after high school? Like, did you just continue with it? Did you go to college? Like, what?
Yeah.
What did you do after high school and why?
Yeah, I was like mowing lawns and working at a skate shop. I didn't go to college. I've spoken at colleges now, but I didn't necessarily go to school, and that was something that I felt kind of ashamed of as well until I started reading other people. There's a lot of people that are successful that haven't been too, but when I finished high school, when I graduated, it was like a couple of years, and then I ended up moving to California, and so that was a bit of a culture shock. But I surrounded myself with great people, and I was sponsored, so that's when I was in magazines and touring. So that's where like my focus was. But I was still speaking here and there. But then as skateboarding went on, I started to realize that I want to really focus on speaking and my interviews. I really I loved it. I was always around just different interesting people, and I just started to really go full time with it, and it takes time, I'm booking my own guests, all these, but it's fun. I love it. I just interviewed another guy too. His name is Mikey Taylor. He's a former professional skateboarder, and I was a real estate mogul, over like millions of dollars in real estate. So we just had a great conversation, because a lot of times they think that the skateboarders, I used to think too, that they're making millions, but they're not. A lot of them are not making millions of dollars. Only a handful are. And he was just talking about the importance of investing in home, different, like if you can get a home, and that was kind of crazy pricing wise, but just thinking about the future, like we talked about, thinking long term. So yeah, man, I just do my best to position myself with good people. And read a lot, as much as I can. And now I'm speaking full time now. So I'm speaking all over. I was just in Denver like 2 weeks ago. That was amazing. It was for a gala. I was out there. It's been a ride, man. It's been incredible. And you want to just have good people around you. I got my good friend back there, Benji. I know y'all can't see him, but Benji's hilarious. So and people that not only want the best for you, but people that can laugh with you too. You want to have funny people around you too. You want to crack jokes and have fun. You know what I'm saying? And people who can keep you accountable to where, when you do get that show or however it comes out, that you stay humble.
Yeah.
You don't think you're greater than, you don't think you're less than, you know what I'm saying? It's just, and that helps a lot, so.
'Cause that'll break you if you start to think, oh, I'm all that.
Yeah.
And eventually it'll break you, and then I feel like it'll take some time to help you rebuild that self-esteem that you had. Because if you're the smartest person in the room, you're not in the right room.
It's true. And I've been in some rooms where I'm telling you, I feel like they speak in another language. And I'll be looking at it and I'll be like,
Yeah.
But I'm receiving it. But yeah, so I always try to put myself in those positions, or if it's even, going in different places you've never been before. All that does help.
Yeah.
It helps. You just never know who you're gonna meet. I was recently at the Beverly Hills Hotel, and I was always tell myself that you need to be in the atmosphere of success.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, be in the atmosphere of success. And I was sitting down, and Steven Spielberg walks right in front of me.
Whoa.
I said, I gotta go say hello to Steven Spielberg. So I got up, introduced myself, took a picture. But the cool thing about that is when there was this movie called Super 8.
Oh.
And it came out in 2011. I'm not sure if you ever heard of it, but it was it came out in 2011. But him and J.J. Abrams produced it. But I was actually on that set because I was an assistant to one of the actors.
Oh.
His name is Gabriel Basso, and he's on another big show right now called The Night Agent. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's on Netflix. Go check that out. But the star of that show, I started out there. I forgot to share that, but I started out as a driver. I was like a personal assistant. I was like driving him to sets and big shows. And so I mean, I just to learn to be humble and to always, my other quote is, those who think they know it all really don't know nothing at all.
Oh yeah.
So you always just, be humble. You can learn from anything, from good, from bad, from sad, from bad. You can learn from it all. So learn, listen. And, when I'm in the real world, when I'm not on this talking, I try my best to listen and to ask questions, be curious. I think, because I like to read too, so that's why I like to read a lot too. Just get information, it's fun, but it does because, you could be a person that drinks a lot of soda or any kind of drink, right? And even though you might drink this drink thousands of times or whatever,
yeah,
there could be somebody else that just knows, maybe there's an ingredient that you don't know, or you know what I mean? But you might I know this because I drink it every day or whatever it is. So it's always just being humble, being open. Might even not agree with everything somebody's saying, but you don't have to fight. You don't have to argue. None of that. It's just they have a different opinion. It's okay. It's all human. It's all right. And so.
And nobody knows everything. Even that person who's telling you more than, who knows more within that certain subject than you do,
right.
They still don't know everything. But I feel like that's what makes this life process beautiful and fun, because if we all knew everything, then there'd be nothing to experience. There would be nothing to have fun with. So
definitely,
it's okay not to know everything.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful now too. I think, but don't stay like, what's the word? But yeah, just
don't stay ignorant.
Yeah, but be curious. Just be like we're born with these traits. These are traits that when you were a baby, you were like the birds were chirping, you were looking up.
Yeah.
You were touching every little thing. You were jumping off stuff. There were so many things that you were curious about. But I think as we get older, we feel like we have to act a certain way. We have to be a certain way. We have to act like a robot. We weren't created to be a robot. None of us are. So it's so important that we never lose that child self.
Yeah.
You have to keep your child self within you. As you get older, continue to have fun. Continue to hike and play. And they were just talking about that in the book I'm reading, The Anxious Generation. It's a great book for parents watching right now. Go read The Anxious Generation. And it talked about how letting your kids play instead of just being on the phone all day is so important for their mental health, and how social media has caused so much anxiety and so much anxiousness because young people they're not playing outside.
Yeah.
They're just on their phone. So you're not having real life experiences, right? If you hurt somebody's feelings, you're not having to look at them in their face and seeing their expressions to see how that felt. You're just being able to type it out, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot happening in the world, and so I'm just realizing that, man, when I was a kid, I played a lot. I was able to ride my bike around all over the town. Now it's different. Now kids aren't able to do different things because of the fear of the world. So yeah.
And how did you do it? How did you make it? So first of all, what level are you at within skateboarding? Like after high school, you kept up with it? So.
Yeah, so I went, amateur, and then I started getting paid, so you consider that professional skateboarding for a while. Not in like a whole long time period, but I was definitely in magazines. I wasn't in like big like competition or anything like that.
Oh, okay.
But I just use my uniqueness, and there's different images online that people can see where I'm like skateboarding over like in the wintertime, I'm like skateboarding over ponds, and I'm just doing different unique things that a lot of people haven't seen. So I think that my uniqueness definitely helped me to get known a little bit, and it just opened up a lot of doors. So I think it's just finding your uniqueness and being consistent and persistent and persevere is something that I learned that a no is just a maybe, or some people, there's another book I'm reading, it's by an amazing author. If he's a producer too, his name is Jerry, I forgot his last name, but he says...
Jerry Seinfeld?
No, there's another guy, I forgot his last name, but he's like a producer, he's very known, he passed away a couple of years ago. When we're finished, I'll show you. But he just had this tenacity that the no, he wouldn't let that faze him. And with him having that ability, he became so successful because he didn't let that no halt him. He let it motivate him. And so there's so many things in that book where it just touched me. I was like, wow, I got to start thinking that way. There was another incident of him just being kind. He was working at a building, and he had a new car that he just bought, and a president came downstairs, and it was raining in New York City, and his car wasn't working. So the guy Jerry, his chauffeur, was like, hey, I'm gonna take that other president, but they didn't let Jerry know. And the next day, that president called Jerry and said, thank you so much for allowing me to use your car. And Jerry was like, hold on, you use my car? Who are, like, he didn't know. It was kind of funny. And but the guy said, no, I want you to come to my office. Jerry came to this guy's office, and he had this big old office, and the guy said, just for you being kind, he's like, I got 4 shows for you. Just like that. Just like that. Gave him 4 big shows to produce. So kindness is a key. You never know.
And then I was gonna ask you something, but I already know the answer to this. Like, so with all the stuff that you've said, it's clear how you've been able to keep going, because with your passion, especially for skateboarding, because you didn't let that no halt you. You didn't let those incidents when you were a kid halt you. You just kept going, and you just kept hitting, kept rolling with the punches.
Yeah.
And with where you are now, how does it feel?
Man, it's like I'm a kid. Like it's it's that kid feeling like you get to play video games or something. It's like, I don't know. It's like when you do what you love, it's work, but it ain't really work.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like it's work. You're working, and it's tiring sometimes, but it's like you're created to do it. So when I'm speaking, I'm created to do that. It's like breathing. It's like, I love it. I'm passionate about it. It's not fake. It's not phony. This is my heart. And you feel alive.
Yeah.
You know, the greatest high isn't drugs. The greatest high is fulfilling your purpose. Mm-hmm. It's really fulfilling that purpose and adding service. That's it, man. It's very simple.
Yeah.
It's so simple. So I'm definitely happy to meet you. This is a blessing. Happy to tour around the studio set. Happy to have been able to meet all the people even behind the scenes. This is incredible. This is awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, every experience is it's a blessing, and I'm definitely thankful to be here. So.
And I'm grateful to have met you, to have had this interview with you, and I look forward to keep in touch with you and just learn a lot of great things for you. And thank you for being here today. You really made my day today.
Oh, thank you, man. You made mine too. Great listener, great follow-up questions, down to earth. And I be 18 years old, man, you're gonna have an amazing career. I look forward to keeping up with you too as well.
Of course.
And just seeing all the great work that you're doing. So I'm definitely appreciative, and this is awesome to be a part of your show.
Of course. And that's it for the Amado Lucero Show. Stay tapped in.